A real estate magnate, accustomed to solving everything with money, sends a lavish bouquet to his fiancée, but the delivery driver mixes up the apartment number. The flowers arrive at the door of a public school teacher, a leader in the community his company intends to displace. Between the luxury of the Loop and the worn stoops of Pilsen, a single error brings guilt, courage, and desire face to face. How far will he go for profit? And what happens when love blossoms at the absolute wrong address? Before delving into this poignant tale, subscribe to our channel for daily stories that warm the heart. Alexander Sterling had learned from his Uncle Charles that numbers came first. Always. People occupied the second place, at best. It was a logic that worked, that multiplied zeros in bank accounts, that erected glass towers in the Loop. Their company, Sterling Group, funded urban revitalization projects, which, in practice, evicted entire families from their homes to make way for luxury condominiums that fed the insatiable appetite of Chicago's elite. Victoria Vance, his fiancée, was the daughter of one of the group's largest investors. She fit perfectly into that world of penthouse dinners, trips to Miami, high-end gallery openings in River North. Elegant, ambitious, she viewed every plot of land as an opportunity and every protest as mere noise from people who failed to grasp how progress truly functioned. For her, the city needed to be cleansed, modernized, emptied of its old and unkempt corners. When the new eviction project emerged, Alex approved the contracts without reading everything carefully. He trusted Charles. It's merely the repositioning of a blighted area, his uncle assured him, his fingers drumming on the mahogany desk as he smiled. Alex signed. Later, reports began to surface. Social media videos depicted teachers, small business owners, and elderly residents attempting to halt the construction's progression. They accused the Sterling Group of abuse, deception, of stealing those people's past. Victoria pressured him. "You need to stand firm," she stated, her eyes cold as two chips of ice. "Our marriage, the investors' trust, everything relies on you demonstrating strength and consistency." She never uttered "our love." She spoke of "our marriage," as if they were synonyms. Nonetheless, Alex felt something growing within his chest, a disquiet, a nameless ache. He realized this was not merely a dispute over documents, but concrete lives, real families, children who would be uprooted from their schools, elders who would die far from where they were born. To ease the tension after a disagreement about the project, Alex decided to send flowers to Tori. A grand bouquet of imported roses, rare orchids, the kind that cost a blue-collar worker's monthly wage, accompanied by a card apologizing for his momentary hesitation. The gesture was not solely romantic. It was an attempt to reaffirm to himself that he was on the right side, the side of the victors. In his haste, he dictated the address to his assistant. He mistook a single apartment number. He did not verify the receipt. The bouquet, instead of being delivered to Tori's penthouse in Gold Coast, ended up at a simple building in Pilsen, the home of Maria Sanchez. Maria was a public school teacher, a local leader of the resistance against the Sterling Group's eviction project. Maria Sanchez lived on a tight budget. Her public school teacher salary barely covered rent, food, and the basic expenses for the two-room apartment she shared, with stacks of hand-graded papers, worn textbooks, and colorful files organized in the cramped living room. In those files, she kept copies of contracts, notices, news reports, conversation screenshots, and emails she had gathered over months to legally halt the progress of the development that threatened to displace her neighbors. She knew every face in the community. Rosa Rodriguez, who had sold homemade tamales on the corner for 30 years. Mateo Garcia, a retired construction worker who watered the sidewalk plants every morning. The Ramirez family, 5 children squeezed into a 400-square-foot apartment, yet always with a smile at their door. All faced the risk of eviction. All trusted Maria. When the bouquet arrived, she found it peculiar. There was no clearly identified sender, only an elegant card on expensive paper bearing a cryptic message of apology. Maria thought it might be an anonymous gesture of support for their cause. It happened. In battles involving powerful interests, unexpected allies sometimes emerged, people with money and a guilty conscience who preferred to help from a distance. The neighbors began to comment on the mysterious flowers at the home of the teacher leading meetings against the Millionaire Corporation. "Did Maria get a boyfriend?" Rosa Rodriguez joked. "I hope it's someone important, someone who can help us," Mateo Garcia said, half serious, half hopeful. At the Sterling Group headquarters, within the glass tower in the Loop, the error began to surface. Alex saw a photo on social media of the bouquet on the doorstep of a modest home. The address was tagged. Comments from residents associated the flowers with Maria Sanchez's name. "Is the company trying to buy off the teacher with a gift?" someone wrote. "These rich people think money buys everything," another replied. Alex's stomach tightened. If that story grew, he and his company could face charges of manipulation, bribery, and community leader co-optation. Worse, Tory would be furious. Investors too. Yet something more stirred. Alex was intrigued by that figure, Maria Sanchez. Internal reports listed her as principal orchestrator of the resistance. A teacher, a lone woman confronting the entire Sterling Group structure. What motivated her? Why did she risk so much? Alex resolved to visit the address personally to correct the error. He wanted no more attention from lawyers or uniformed staff. He went alone, in discreet attire, to understand who received the flowers and what was said about him in a place previously only in reports. Alex wore an unmarked polo, common jeans, and brandless sneakers. He gazed into the marble bathroom mirror, not fully recognizing the man staring back. He left the apartment without alerting his driver, hailing an Uber instead. The young driver, listening to hip-hop softly, asked no questions. Alex gave the address. The car crossed the city. The afternoon was warm, typical of a Chicago summer. Heavy traffic, blaring horns, motorcycles weaving through cars. Alex observed through the window. As the car entered Pilsen, the streets changed. Older buildings, irregular sidewalks, neighborhood businesses. Bakeries, pharmacies, corner bars, newsstands. People walked slowly, conversing at shop entrances. An ordinary life. A life Alex had not lived in years. The Uber stopped before a 4-story building without a doorman. The facade's paint peeled in some spots. An exterior staircase ascended to the upper floors. Alex exited the car, taking a deep breath. The aroma of warm bread came from the adjacent bakery. Children played on the sidewalk. A woman swept the ground floor entrance. He climbed the stairs, apartment 23. He knocked. Maria opened it. She was weary. Just home from school, she still wore her simple blouse and jeans for teaching. Her hair was in a ponytail. Large, expressive brown eyes, framed by dark circles. She eyed Alex with suspicion. Well-dressed figures frequently appeared. They usually came to pressure, threaten, or make indecent offers. "Yes?" she inquired, her voice firm but fatigued. "Good afternoon," Alex said, trying to sound casual. "I came due to a mistake. That flower bouquet you received was sent by me, but to the wrong address." Maria crossed her arms. Wrong address. Not a question, it was suspicion. "Indeed, it was for my fiancé. I misdialed the apartment number." Maria scrutinized him head to toe. She assessed him. And you came all this way to retrieve the flowers? Alex hesitated. In truth, I came more to clarify the situation. Clarify, Maria repeated, her tone sharp. Do you know what that bouquet costs? More than I earn in a week. And you expect me to believe it was an innocent mistake? Alex felt his discomfort mount. It truly was an error. I had no intention of… Trying to buy me off? Maria cut in. Her eyes gleamed. Because I know who you people are. I know the corporation trying to evict my neighbors has money to burn on expensive flowers. And I know you'll try anything to silence those who fight back. Alex was momentarily speechless. This woman possessed absolute certainty, and she was right to be suspicious, just not in the manner she envisioned. I am not with the corporation, Alex lied. The words escaped before he could reconsider. I am a consultant. I work in urban development. I am interested in understanding the situation better. Maria narrowed her eyes. A consultant. Her tone made it clear she was not entirely convinced, yet she did not fully close the door. Perhaps this man could prove useful. And why would a consultant mistakenly send flowers to me? Alex felt the weight of his falsehood. They were not for you. They were for my fiancé. I simply erred with the address. An unfortunate coincidence. Maria sighed deeply. She was too weary to argue. Fine. I accept your explanation. She moved to close the door, but Alex stepped forward. May I ask you something? Maria paused. That depends. Why are you doing this? Confronting such a large corporation? The question caught Maria by surprise. No one ever asked that. Usually, people either cursed or attempted to persuade her to give up. She looked at Alex, endeavoring to decipher his intentions. There was something genuine in his gaze. Or perhaps it was merely her own exhaustion, wishing to believe that someone truly cared. Come in, she said, opening the door completely. The apartment was small, yet clean and organized. An old but comfortable sofa, a simple wooden table, a bookshelf lined with textbooks, inexpensive novels, and old movie DVDs. And on the table, colorful folders, stacks of them. Documents, contracts, printed photographs. Coffee? Maria offered, moving toward the tiny kitchen. Please. She prepared the coffee in silence. Alex observed the apartment. He felt something peculiar. Shame, perhaps. This woman lived with so little, yet she fought for people who were much like herself. While he, who possessed everything, signed papers that destroyed lives without a second thought. Maria returned with 2 mugs. She sat on the chair opposite the sofa where Alex was seated. I do this because it is right, she stated plainly. These people have lived here for decades. Mateo Garcia built half the buildings in this neighborhood with his own hands. Rosa Rodriguez raised 3 children selling tamales on the corner. The Ramirez family, their children attend the school where I teach. They are good kids, diligent, and now they want to throw everyone out onto the street to build luxury apartments. Alex swallowed hard. I understand. Do you understand? Maria let out a humorless laugh. Where do you live, sir? In a 2,000-square-foot apartment in Lincoln Park? West Loop? Gold Coast? Alex did not answer. The reply lay in the silence. Exactly, Maria continued. You do not understand. You will never understand what it is like to wake up in the middle of the night and not be able to go back to sleep because you are worried about having enough for next month's rent. You do not know what it is to see a child cry because she does not want to leave the school where her friends are. Maria's words echoed in Alex's head for days. He returned home to his 3,000-square-foot penthouse in Gold Coast and could not sleep. Tori called, complaining that he had not joined her and her parents for dinner. Alex fabricated an excuse about a last-minute meeting. He lied again. In the following days, Alex began frequenting the community under the pretext of studying project impacts. He appeared at the meetings Maria organized, held in the community hall of the local church. He sat at the back, silent, listening. The residents shared their stories. Mateo Garcia spoke with a choked voice about the house where his wife had passed. Rosa Rodriguez showed old photographs, the sidewalk where she had begun selling homemade tamales 40 years ago. When she was a girl, Mrs. Ramirez wept, saying she did not know where to take her children if they were to be evicted. Maria conducted the meetings with firmness and compassion. She noted everything, organized documents, explained rights. She had secured volunteer attorneys, law students from the University of Chicago Law Clinic who worked pro bono. She had gathered evidence of irregularities in the Sterling Group's contracts. Abusive clauses, impossible deadlines, ridiculous compensations. Alex listened and felt the weight of guilt grow. Those contracts bore his signature. He was responsible. Yet, he still could not reveal who he truly was. He feared Maria would cast him out, that he would lose the chance to understand, to try and fix things somehow. One afternoon, after a particularly tense meeting, Maria sat beside him on the church steps. "You are always quiet," she said. "You never say anything." "I am learning," Alex replied. "Learning what?" "To listen." Maria looked at him, surprised by his sincerity. "And why does an urban business consultant need to learn to listen?" Alex hesitated. "Because I spent my entire life believing I knew everything, believing I understood how the world operated. But perhaps I was mistaken." Maria remained silent for a moment. There was something about that man, a hidden sadness, a quest. "You can help," she said finally. "If you truly understand contracts, understand laws, you can help us find loopholes to strengthen our arguments." Alex felt his heart quicken. This was betrayal. Against Chuck, against Tori, against everything he had built. But he looked at Maria, at her tired eyes, and nodded. "I can try." In the following days, Alex used his technical knowledge to guide Maria. He explained obscure contractual clauses, suggested ways to prove irregularities, and indicated regulatory bodies that could be activated. He justified it to himself by claiming he was merely seeking a fairer agreement. He refused to admit he was sabotaging his own uncle's strategy. As Alex delved deeper into the documents Maria had gathered, he began to uncover things that had never been explained to him. Absurdly short eviction timelines, financial compensations that barely covered a month's rent in nearby neighborhoods, legal loopholes allowing the corporation to displace residents before any genuine negotiation. It was all calculated, cold, efficient. Charles had structured contracts like this for years. For him, people were temporary obstacles, lines on spreadsheets that could be removed with the right tool. Alex realized his uncle did not see names, stories, lives. He saw numbers, always numbers. The more time Alex spent with Maria, the sharper the contrast became. She knew the name of every child in the community, understood the history of each family, remembered neighbors' birthdays. When Rosa Rodriguez fell ill, it was Maria who organized a rotation so someone always brought her food. When the eldest Ramirez child got into college, it was Maria who bought a book as a gift with the little money she possessed. Alex began to admire her. More than that, he began to feel something he could not name, a mixture of respect, fascination, and guilt. Because the more he knew her, the more he realized he was lying to someone who deserved the truth. At the corporation, Charles noticed the change. Alex began to question decisions in meetings, request contract revisions, demand more transparency in reports. His attentive uncle investigated. He discovered Alex had been visiting the project area. Worse, he had been accompanied by a teacher connected to the resistance. Charles wasted no time. To protect profits, he decided to attack Maria directly. He hired experienced lawyers and activated contacts in public offices. Within days, anonymous accusations surfaced against the teacher. They accused her of diverting money raised for the cause. These were false charges, but serious enough to expose her name and undermine her. Tabloid news sites published planted stories. Teacher manipulates residents for personal gain, read one headline. Community leader investigated for irregularities, stated another. The news spread across social media. Parents of students began to question Maria. The school administration summoned her for explanations. Maria felt the weight of the accusations. She did not understand their origin. She knew her documents were solid, that she had never diverted a single cent. But the lies gained traction, and some residents, frightened by the possibility of losing support, began to hesitate in following her. Alex, upon discovering Charles's machinations, felt an anger unlike any he had known, anger at himself for signing those contracts, anger at his uncle for destroying the innocent, anger at a world that allowed money to purchase lies. As Maria faced these attacks, an official inquiry into the Sterling Group's methods began. The State Attorney General's office had received a detailed anonymous dossier with evidence of contractual irregularities, leaked internal documents, and former employee testimonies. Within the company, this secret whistleblower was spoken of with hatred. Traitor, Charles spat the word like venom. Alex did not know the whistleblower's identity. Yet, he sensed the person behind the dossier describe things only someone keenly aware of community suffering could document. He recognized specific cases, the family with bedridden elderly who could not be relocated without mortal risk, the school slated for closure, leaving 200 children without placement, the local businesses facing destruction, stripping dozens of families of their livelihoods. One day, while investigating the attacks against Maria to help her, Alex accessed internal documents from Charles' lawyers. He found copies of the dossier sent to the State Attorney General's office with handwritten notes identifying the whistleblower. One of these notes mentioned the bedridden elderly family's case. Alex recalled Maria discussing this in a meeting, with details absent from official reports. Another part of the dossier cited school enrollment numbers obtainable only by an education professional. Alex turned the documents with trembling hands. He recognized the pattern of organization: color-coded folders, data lists in columns, sequential numbering. He had seen that system before. In Maria's simple living room. The revelation hit him like a punch. Maria was the anonymous whistleblower. The teacher he was beginning to love had jeopardized not only Charles, but him. Alex had signed some of those contracts. If the inquiry proceeded, he too could be prosecuted, losing everything. The dilemma paralyzed him. He could protect himself, collaborate with Charles to silence Maria, preserve career, wealth, and engagement to Victoria, or he could assume his responsibility, even if it cost him everything. That night, Alex did not sleep. He sat on the penthouse balcony, gazing at the city lights. He contemplated his life's constructs: company, money, status. And he thought of Maria, the way she smiled when a child from school hugged her, the patience with which she explained rights to illiterate residents, the courage to stand alone against an entire structure of power. By morning, Alex had made his decision. Alex Sterling convened an extraordinary board meeting for the Sterling Group. Charles found the sudden summons unusual, but attended confidently. believing his nephew had finally regained his senses. Victoria Vance was also present, as the heir to one of the key investors. Alex entered the boardroom, carrying a heavy folder. He sat at the head of the table. He took a deep breath. "I am here to present evidence of serious irregularities in the contracts for the Pilsen Revitalization Project," he stated, his voice firm. Charles frowned. "What are you talking about?" Alex opened the folder. He began distributing copies of documents, contracts with predatory clauses, internal emails revealing the company's awareness of the illegalities, testimonies from harmed residents, the dossier Maria Sanchez had compiled, cross-referenced with the company's own internal reports. "We are profiting from fraud," Alex said, looking his uncle in the eye. "We are displacing families based on flawed contracts, and I signed those contracts." The room fell silent. The board members flipped through the documents, their faces pale. Victoria stared at Alex as if she did not recognize him. "Are you insane?" she whispered. "You're destroying everything we have built." "I am destroying something that should never have been built," Alex replied. Charles slammed his hand on the table. "You do not know what you are doing. That teacher has bewitched you. She is the whistleblower, Alex. She is trying to destroy our company." "She is trying to protect innocent people," Alex countered. "And she is right." Victoria stood up, furious. "I will not sit here and listen to this. My father invested millions in this project. You will destroy not only your career, but mine as well." Alex looked at her. For the first time, he truly saw who she was, a woman willing to crush anyone to maintain privilege. "Then perhaps it is best we end things here, Victoria." The shock on her face was immediate. "You are ending our engagement? Because of a public school teacher? I am ending it because I can no longer live pretending not to see what we are doing. I cannot marry someone who believes people are worth less than profit." Victoria stormed out, slamming the door. Charles stood, struggling to control his rage. "You will regret this, Alex. I will sue you for breach of fiduciary duty. I will remove you from the company. You will lose everything." "I know," Alex said, his voice calm, "but at least I will be able to sleep at night." Alex's decision had immediate consequences. Charles mobilized lawyers to attempt his removal from the company. Victoria and her father withdrew their investments. Some board members, however, frightened by the possibility of criminal proceedings, decided to support Alex. The state attorney general's office investigation was progressing. It was better to cooperate, admit errors, and try to minimize damages. Alex canceled the eviction project. Beyond that, he initiated a plan for fair compensation and voluntary relocation for families wishing to leave, offering apartments in nearby neighborhoods, with legal deeds and humanely possible timelines. The company publicly acknowledged its failings and committed to new social responsibility guidelines. Charles, unwilling to concede, was removed from the board after his involvement in fraudulent contracts and smear campaigns was proven. He faced his own legal proceedings, not out of vengeance, but due to accumulated evidence over years. Maria, who had endured weeks of personal attacks and extreme exhaustion, saw some certainties crumble. She discovered, through an investigative report, that the consultant who had assisted her was, in fact, Alex Sterling, the magnate behind the contracts she fought, Charles's nephew and partner. The initial sensation was betrayal. Maria felt used, manipulated. How could he conceal this? Yet, witnessing the concrete decisions Alex was making, the break with Charles, the project's termination, the compensations, the public confession of failings, she began to understand. A true change had materialized, built step by step, One afternoon, Maria went to the Sterling Group headquarters. She asked to speak with Alex. The secretary hesitated, but called him. Alex immediately descended. When he saw Maria in the reception area, his pulse quickened. "May I speak with you?" she asked, her voice controlled. "Of course, let us go to my office." They ascended in silence. In the spacious office, with a view of the loop, Maria stood, arms crossed. "Why did you lie?" Alex did not attempt to defend himself. "Because I was afraid. Afraid you would dismiss me before I had a chance to understand. And because I was ashamed." Ashamed? Of who I was, of having signed those contracts without thought, of having lived 35 years believing money justified everything. Maria looked around. The office was luxurious. Artwork adorned the walls. Noble wood flooring. And now? Have you changed? Or is this merely transient guilt? Alex sat on the edge of the desk. "I do not know if I am entirely changed, but I know I can no longer live as before. I can no longer sign a contract without considering the people affected. I can no longer look at you and lie." Maria felt something soften within her. "You destroyed your life because of the community?" "No," Alex corrected. "I destroyed a life that was not truly mine. And I am trying to build something better." The ensuing months were dedicated to reconstruction. Alex completely reformulated Sterling Group policies. He engaged specialized consultants in social urbanism. He established an independent council with representatives from communities affected by future projects. He established clear criteria for transparency and respect. It was not easy. Some investors departed. Profits diminished. Alex sold his penthouse, moving to a smaller apartment. Yet strangely, he felt lighter, as if a burden he had unknowingly carried for years had been lifted. Maria continued teaching. She continued organizing community meetings. Now she also collaborated with NGOs and councils monitoring urban projects. She had become a reference, invited for lectures, interviews. Her name, once tarnished by false accusations, was now a synonym for resilience and integrity. Alex and Maria saw each other frequently. Initially, it was solely to discuss pending legal matters. Later, for coffee. Then, for dinner. They conversed about everything: childhood, dreams, fears, regrets. Alex spoke of his family's pressure, the expectation of success, the emptiness of a life lived solely for money. Maria recounted stories from her school, her students, the simple joy of watching a child learn to read. One day, walking through Lincoln Park after work, Alex stopped and looked at Maria. "I truly need to apologize to you for lying, for taking so long to do what was right." Maria looked at him, her eyes shining with something no longer anger. "Do you know what is hardest to forgive? Not the lie. It is that it took you so long to see the obvious, that people matter more than buildings. I know, and I regret it. But do you know what I learned?" Maria continued, taking his hand. "That some people need to fall to learn how to rise differently. And you rose." Alex felt his eyes sting. "I do not know if I deserve your forgiveness." "No one deserves forgiveness. We choose to give it or not, and I choose to." Maria smiled softly. "Because I also erred. I thought every wealthy person was a villain, that money always corrupted, and you showed me it is more complicated than that." They walked in silence, hand in hand. Around them, the park was alive, children playing, couples strolling, elders walking. Life, simple and beautiful. "That bouquet," Alex said suddenly, chuckling softly. "I never imagined that mistaking an apartment number would change my entire life." Maria chuckled too. "Indeed, your expensive flowers ended up bringing me something far more valuable than roses." What? Hope. That people can change. That not everything is lost. Alex and Maria did not gravitate through isolated romantic impulse. It was a process. Slow, careful, built upon honest conversations and small gestures. Alex began assisting at Maria's school, funding renovations, purchasing educational materials, sponsoring professional development courses for teachers. Not as empty charity, but because he had understood that education was the foundation of everything. Maria, in turn, taught Alex to see the city differently. She took him to explore community projects, urban gardens, street libraries, and resident initiatives that organized to improve their neighborhood without relying on public authorities. Alex learned that leadership did not stem from money, but from profound commitment. The community residents, once accustomed to empty promises from politicians and developers, witnessed tangible results. Eviction notices were rescinded. Families wishing to relocate received fair compensation and suitable apartments. Those who desired to stay remained. The school underwent renovation. The neighborhood park was revitalized. This was achieved not through top-down imposition, but by collective decision. Mateo Garcia one day pulled Alex aside. "Son, I misjudged you. I thought you were just another one of those who come here to promise and never deliver. But you proved to be different." Alex felt a surge of emotion in his chest. "I did nothing alone, Mateo. It was Maria who fought for all of this. I only awakened." Rosa Rodriguez, always smiling, embraced Maria one Saturday afternoon. "You brought a good man into your life, and he brought true change. I am happy for you." Maria smiled, feeling a blush of embarrassment. "We are still getting to know each other, Rosa." "Ah, I know love when I see it. And you two, you have something special." That evening, Alex invited Maria to his home for dinner. Nothing sophisticated, just a simple pasta dish, inexpensive wine, and soft music playing on an old radio he had acquired from a second-hand store. Maria arrived wearing a plain dress, her hair unbound for the first time. "You look beautiful," Alex said, with genuine sincerity. "You are nervous," Maria observed, smiling gently. "I am," Alex chuckled. "I used to dine at Michelin-starred restaurants without a second thought. But cooking for you, that makes me nervous." They dined, conversing about life's simpler aspects, favorite films, childhood songs, places they yearned to visit. Alex spoke of his mother, who had passed when he was young, and how her absence had left him adrift. Maria recounted her father, a long-haul truck driver, often away for months, and how she had learned to cultivate strength out of necessity. After dinner, they settled onto the sofa. Alex took Maria's hand. "I need to tell you something." Maria looked at him, her expression serious. "Tell me." "I love you." The words emerged simply, unadorned. "I do not know if it is too soon to speak this. I do not know if you feel the same way, but I needed you to know." Maria remained silent for a moment that stretched into eternity. Then she smiled. "I love you too, and it is perfectly all right for us to be afraid of that." Alex drew her close. They kissed slowly, gently. It was a kiss that asked for nothing, that merely conveyed, "I am here." Months passed. Alex and Maria built a routine. He went to her public school to help with financial literacy for older students. She accompanied him to company meetings to ensure new policies were upheld. They were partners, not just lovers, but allies in a greater struggle. Charles tried to sue Alex, but lost. Evidence against him was too solid. He was permanently removed from the corporate world, investigated by the IRS and regulatory bodies. Victoria married another magnate, someone who shared her values. Alex wished her happiness, without resentment. The Sterling Group, under new ethical leadership, became a standard for responsible urban development. Other firms followed this example, pressured by social movements and public opinion. It was not perfect. Resistance, opposing interests, powerful lobbies persisted. But something had changed. Maria won Educator of the Year. Alex was present at the ceremony, seated in the audience, applauding with pride as she took the stage. In that moment, watching the woman he loved receive recognition for years of dedicated work, Alex knew he had made the right choice. One night, on the simple apartment balcony where Alex now lived, he hugged Maria from behind as they watched the city lights. "You know what's funny?" he said. "I spent my whole life trying to reach the top, and when I finally came down, that's when I found everything that truly mattered." Maria turned in his arms. "You didn't come down. You just learned to look sideways, not just up." Alex kissed her forehead. "Thank you." "For what?" "For saving me." Maria shook her head. "I didn't save you. You saved yourself. I just reminded you that you were human." They remained embraced, silently. The city below kept pulsing. Millions of people living their lives, fighting their battles, seeking meaning. And there, in that small apartment, two of them had found something rare: truth. The bouquet of flowers arriving at the wrong house became a symbol. Alex mentioned it in lectures on corporate social responsibility. Maria used it as an example in classes, teaching errors can open unexpected doors. The flowers withered long ago, but what they brought remained. Alex Sterling, the millionaire who delivered flowers to the wrong house, not only met his soulmate, he met himself, the true version, stripped of important surnames and bank accounts. And Maria Sanchez, the teacher who never asked for anything but justice, found not a savior, but a partner. Someone willing to learn, yield, rebuild. Together, they prove change comes not from grand gestures, but small, courageous decisions. From choosing people over profit, from choosing truth over comfort, from choosing love over convenience. And the city, immense and complex, continued to turn. But for two of its inhabitants, it would never be the same. They saw it now, truly saw it, with all its contrasts, injustices,